You started off this season of Desperate Housewives in quite a worrying state, or rather your character did. How did you feel about all those scenes?
I loved it because originally, at the beginning of season 6, I was supposed to be marrying Mike. That's what I thought was going to happen. And then Mark called me, Mark Cherry, who created the show, called me a week before we started shooting and said, I should probably tell you that Susan's marrying Mike. And I said, at first I was like, what? And then I went, okay. Because I think it's much more interesting to be crazy than to be happy.
Do you think that was deliberate then? He wanted you to be genuinely crazy about this twist?
Maybe. I mean, Mark is known to sort of play tricks like that. Yeah, just to keep things interesting.
Okay. What point during the season did you learn that Catherine would be leaving?
That she'd be leaving? Oh, that happened so fast. Nobody knew. I had this storyline with Julie Benz, where she was my lesbian girlfriend, Robin. And the way it was supposed to turn out was we break up, and she leaves because Catherine doesn't know whether she's gay or she's straight, and she needs to stop trying to find happiness outside herself, that the happiness is inside. But then ABC called and offered me this new series and asked me to do it, and I said to Mark, how do you feel about this? And he said, hey, I don't want to get in the way of you having your own show. That would be terrible. So if it doesn't work out, you can come back. So in one day, he wrote, Robin and Catherine go to Paris. And it happened so quickly that I didn't have time to digest it. And I was crying in the makeup trailer. Oh. And everybody was weeping because it was like, bye.
That's so sweet. How did you feel when you first heard about the kind of lesbian storyline?
I thought it was great. I was shooting a scene in the loony bin, and Mark came up to me, as only Mark can do. He's very dramatic. And he said to me, I should probably tell you the shocking thing that we'll be doing with your character. And I said, what, I'm becoming a man? And he said, close. And that was it. And I was so excited. I actually was in the parking lot, and I started jumping up and down, screaming, because I thought, oh, that's so perfect, because nobody has actually done that. There's been so many wild things to happen on Wisteria Lane, but none of the housewives got to be lesbian. So I got to be the first one.
Yeah, it was good for you to have a storyline that was just about you and your character as well, rather than with a different.
Well, there is a structure to the show, like it's almost like a Greek structure, where it's the 4 main housewives, and then whoever else comes in kind of has to circle around them and create problems for them. And I think that it made Mark a little bit nervous that I was having my own storyline, because my job was to cause trouble for the other housewives. So he didn't want it to go on too long. It was more about how they would react to having one of their own friends become a lesbian.
Do you think Catherine and Robin have a future together?
I'm hoping that Catherine and Robin are in Paris drinking wine and eating cheese and making love all over the city.
That's right. And Julie Benz is there as well.
Yeah.
Have you spent much time with her?
Yes, I saw Julie last night, and we actually had worked together years before. And the thing about Julie is she's so hot, and so beautiful. And people lose sight of the fact that she's a really good actress. She really knows what she's doing. And I'm happy for her that she got her own show. I mean, that she's on. Yeah. Well, it's a weird thing. Television has become almost like the old studio system, where the networks get very possessive of their actors because there's so many different outlets. So I think when they see an actor's working, they want to take that actor and put them somewhere else so that nobody else gets them.
Do you think a return's possible then? I'm guessing not.
No, it might. Yeah, no. If Body of Proof doesn't work out, Mark said that when that got picked up, he sent me a big bouquet of flowers with a note saying, I'll be waiting for you. And I wrote him an email and I said, I like a man who waits. And so he said, if it doesn't work out, you can come back. Or even if it does, maybe the last season, which is probably 2 years from now, Catherine will come back and visit so we can wrap up what happened to her.
Okay. So Body of Proof then starts ABC Friday nights from the 4th. What can you tell us about that?
It is a procedural, which people seem to like. But it's more than that because ABC likes to do character-driven pieces. So it's it's more like House, where my character's kind of smarter than everyone else and arrogant and kind of cranky. And then each week I play a medical examiner, and each week we'll solve the crime of how the body died.
She seems quite nosy as well, from the clips I've seen.
Nosy? Yes, she is nosy. She thinks that she's allowed to ask anything.
Okay, and what are the other characters in the show?
Really good cast. We have two cops, Nick Bishop, who's an Australian actor, and John Carroll Lynch, who's been in a million things. And then we have the pathologists in the medical crime lab, who do the slides and try to figure out what the illness was and that kind of thing.